But it's a Wednesday, and on Wednesdays, you know what we do here? We bring you issues relating to sanitation, what is happening within our communities when it comes to either solid waste, liquid waste, or hazardous waste, and of course, what the government can do to ensure that our environment is very clean, as well as citizens as well, and also what authorities must do to ensure that we get a very clean environment to stay in. And as you celebrate Christmas, I'm sure you're also thinking of where you'll be disposing of that waste you are creating or generating in your home. But today, let's take you to Tema, where we understand that there is a looming disaster there. It's a wetland, but that wetland, which eventually has some channels of sewer or sewage into the river, or say that the sea itself, some developers are encroaching that land, which is not a step in the right direction. Let's bring you this report filed by my colleague here at ChannelOne TVC TFM with the newsroom, that is the Fauzu Masaudu, after we will delve deeper into conversations around this issue.
The wetland has for time immemorial served as a major aspect of flood mitigation efforts in the Tema enclave. With trees, grasses and shrubs, the site offered a serene environment for ecological exploration. However, that is no longer the case. This enclave adjacent to the Tema Loop Oil is one of the wetlands, but unfortunately, it is no longer serving its purpose. Why? There is a number of construction works ongoing over here, and that has blocked the sewer trunks that serves, the Tema metropolitan area, both residential and industry-wise. Concrete walls have been erected directly over waste pipelines that convey sewage into the Chemu Lagoon, effectively obstructing the natural flow of waste. This development has significantly worsened sewage management in surrounding communities, raising fears of a potential public health emergency as the disruptions have led to sewage overflows. Further findings reveal that a designated water retention area has been filled with concrete by the alleged encroacher, posing a serious flooding risk, especially during the rainy season. The seeming unauthorized construction, believed to be an industrial facility, has been ongoing for the past 2 months with no visible intervention from the Tema Metropolitan Assembly, according to sources. Preliminary assessments suggest multiple breaches of the country's land use and environmental laws. These include provisions under the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act 2016, Act 925, specifically Section 117 on the prohibition of development without a permit, Section 121 on unauthorized development within community right of way spaces, and Section 120 on the abatement of nuisance. Possible violations of the Ghana Hydrological Authority Act 2022, that's Act 1085, have also been cited. Additionally, the development appears to contravene the Tema Metropolitan Assembly TMA bylaws 2025, particularly Section 17, which prescribes sanctions for constructing buildings over sewage infrastructure. Mineral Roads and Building Consultant Engineer Abdullahi Mahama has been reacting to the issue.
Want to call the shots. This one, immediately, the Minister for Local Government, the regional minister, has to call on the Metropolitan Assembly head to a meeting ASAP and ask them how would they interpret what I just read in the LI 2465 2022, because we cannot sit down and be behaving like mushrooms, ostriches, and see that a developer for the past 2 months is undertaking a development which is going to be a danger to Ghanaians. Recently, I made mention of what is happening at Abukobi. The boundary between La Quantana and Abukobi has also seen a similar river being covered by unknown developers. How many times must we sit down and allow unknown, so to speak, to be developing that, which is not like it happened overnight? If we do not sit up and call the shots, there are a lot of big people within 25-26. It cannot be that an ordinary person who doesn't have any clout, any political clout, will be able to go in and cause this. See,
So, of course, that is what is happening at Tema. Well, we've seen the Tema mayor, Ibe Bright, speak about it. She has indicated that some work will be done about this immediately. Though a visit to the place, they weren't able to see the developers. And also, we've seen some actions being taken by some individuals. Example is Engineer Abdullah Mahama, who is a building and road consultant or engineer, and he has spoken vehemently about this, and he has indicated that, well, this should not be allowed. Why will you want to have a project going on at where a sewer or a sewage channel is located, and sort of you are risking the lives of most of the residents within that area? When the mayor Ibi Bright was spoken to on ChannelOne newsroom on Monday, she indicated that plans are underway to ensure that this issue is resolved. But we just want to look at the issue in its largely how maybe sewage systems are handled in this country. We've seen some that have been broken down. Tema, for instance, has come up with great concerns. There's been a massive concern there raised that their sewage system and all that is having some challenges, among other things. Are the assemblies sitting down aloof, watching people go around and develop places that ideally they are not supposed to develop? What is the law saying? Is it only in Tema, or other places are also bearing the brunt of issues like these, where developers will go and maybe try and encroach the place and also have their properties there? But I think that is an issue that has to be discussed. This is a big issue, because when it comes to waste, we know of the solid waste, we know of the liquid waste and the hazardous waste. So you wouldn't want to be taking one out and leave the rest out of the entire context. So we are managing solid waste in this country. We should be able to find ways and means and manage the liquid waste properly, and also find ways and means to also manage hazardous waste properly in the country. What health benefits, health risk rather, is this issue posing to the residents within the enclave? If you reside in this area and you are watching us now, you'd want to share with us your thought, opinions, and comments on this issue. You want to join us for 0204 447033, so that we can also know what you make of these concerns that the Tema residents are raising. That's 0204 447033. What residents there are raising about this concern, and also what you think that could be done immediately about this, because this is something that should not continue, I think. And before anyone will put up a structure somewhere, there should have been some attention from the assembly, and with this assembly is the Tema Metropolitan Assembly, under the auspices of the mayor Ibi Bright, who has also made it clear that some form of work will be done about this. But Chris, this is what we are saying today. Today we've moved away from the solid waste. We are dealing with liquid waste, and this has to do in the Tema enclave. So if this is what is happening in channels, or how the drainage system should be done into the lagoon, and ideally your sewage or your liquid waste is not getting into the lagoon, but rather has been blocked by an individual, I think is a concern that really must be checked.
I think it's already bad enough that you're encroaching a wetland. Do you understand? Wetlands are not supposed to be, built on. This is what leads to the frequent flooding that we get to see every rainy season, and because already wetlands do not. They absorb excess water. So if you are building on them, that means you are blocking what will absorb that water when it rains. Do you understand? And also, it also poses a lot of environmental destruction, like the whole biodiversity thing that we've spoken about. But when it comes to liquid waste, building on those, building on an area like that, or building on a wetland, you're exposing the people that are even going to be living there to toxic exposure.
And aside that is the fact that it's supposed to have a sewage system there. But
Somewhere,
Engineer Abdullahi
exactly.
Mahama is joining us.
Yeah.
He is a building and road consultant. He has been on this case and he has spoken he's been very loud on this particular issue. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Engineer Mahama.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Right.
So first of all, I want to find out from you, as a building engineer, if you are to put up a structure, what is the process you follow before you put up a structure in order to prevent you from putting up structures at maybe wetlands or blocking sewage, like what we are saying, or maybe encroaching, that is a river or something of that sort? What is the process? Take us through.
On a lighter note, let me just say a good morning to your cherished viewers, yourself and your co-host, and Merry Christmas in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For starting from today or tomorrow, today evening, whatever it is. The traffic is choked, like you rightly said, in Accra. So we should be measured. We should measure if we are going to town to go and buy things, just go once and for all and come back. Don't be doing the piecemeal approach and buying, going back and forth. It's all contributing to the traffic. People are just excited to go to Accra and just look at the traffic. And then the volume of people who are buying here and there. And then there are a lot of criminals also involved. They are just not there to buy anything. That's the policemen, the security will just display. They are just there to also see to very innocent people and get some of this their things, items stolen, and that's it. I would be very careful not to get into my emotions this morning. I have to advise myself, and then I hope you also guide me so well, because the topic for discussion, over the years, my stance on some of these things.
Yeah.
So let me take you through how we get a permit before we come to the major problem. Okay, you have a land. Let's say, Philip, you go and you get your land. And before you get the land to buy, you would have to, at least the advice, so just like a proven advice to everybody, you get a surveyor. If a land is being sold to you, don't just go there on your own and go and do some purchases before you come and get the certified surveyor to go have a look at it for you. Sometimes you may have a land document that are sold for you, but when you get to the place to go and plot the same coordinate, the land will be far away from where, in fact, they took you to. So it's only better that when you are given a coordinate of a certain land, you go with a certified surveyor who will confirm whether the coordinate or the 4 corners or the 5 corners, depending on the size of land, the type of land you are buying, actually reflects the existing coordinate on that particular site. When that is done, you move to the next stage where you have done your documentation from the licensed surveyors, going to the regional surveyor to get you your indenture. You do your search. Because now it has become a requirement that you need to have a search report attached to your site plan, that the land is not in contention, is not being disputed upon by anybody. And then you add that report, the search report, to your plan, to the assembly, and then they will now follow their various processes by coming to the site, looking at the location where you want to put up a structure, whether it falls within the zoning status. So you cannot just say, I'm going to put up a residential building in a zoning area demarcated for mini industrial hub, like the Free Zone Board. I've not seen any residential building within the Free Zone, because it is a mini or major industrial hub. So the assembly will look at the zoning status, whether it conforms with the type of building you're going to put up within that area. And then the process will be followed, and then you get your permit, and they'll give you a development permit before you can kickstart your building. In fact, doing a building for myself, I have friends at the assembly, but I follow to the latter. And as I'm putting up the structure now, you cannot come there and tell me produce permit, because everything that I need to get from the assembly has been followed to the latter. That is how you have to get your permit. The assembly will look at the land size, the type of structure you're going to do based on the total land size of the building. Then they give you the permit depending on the number of square meters that your building is going to cover. They will look at the fence wall. You pay for the fence wall, the septic tank, and everything. I mean, this is how the basic requirement that you need to conform to when you submit your document to the assembly. That is after you have done your architectural drawing, your structural drawing, if there are storage buildings, you have done your MEP, that's the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing works, so that everything will sync with the EPA to get you permits for any environmental issue. You have to get the fire service permit if it's a structure for like a commercial facility, the exit and entry, all those escape route and everything, so that when there's any fire outbreak, like unfortunately what happened in Kumasi recently with the China Mall, you are able to get people to vacate the place, the premises within some micro minutes, and then you are good to go. Then the construction would now start.
Wow, that's an interesting one. So it takes a long process for the individual to go through to get the permits and whatever details from the assembly. So that means that if you are putting up a structure, the assembly has to be in the known. In this case, do you think that the assembly has failed?
This particular one?
Yes.
Well, if it's 2.5 months, there is what we call the Assembly Task Force. Their duty is to go around with some of their work heads, like the physical planning officer, who mostly is in charge of the zoning status. Occasionally, they move around their area when they have some information that somebody has put up a structure within their catchment area. They go in to find out whether the person has met all the requirements. On that score, they have failed.
Wow.
The reason why they have failed is that the Land Use and Special Planning Act at 2016 at 925 plus 113. These are like, I've rehearsed this over the years, so they are just like, it's a Bible in the head. 113 gives you that the person has to, if you have an intention to put up a building, you have to now go to the local assembly within which your land is situated to inform the appropriate authority that I want to do A, B, C, and D. Had that been done? No, it has been violated. In this case, let's say that the MC is saying that he has not seen the person. It's neither here nor there. Let me just do this before I forget. The president of the land, who had decided we're going to do resetting, has a minister for local government, under which all the MMDC is come under. Yeah? Then we'll just have to say, let's augment his effort or his duty by adding the Greater Accra Regional Minister, who I have been on radio and TV applauding for the kind of action she was taking at the Sakumono Ramsey site and the Wager wetland as well. It cannot be that we'll go to Sakumono Ramsey site, rationally and reasonably be demolishing houses which are going to affect us, like your co-host said. Sorry, I've forgotten the name.
Chris Carter. Chris Carter, yeah.
She said that, you see, the number of times that we are reducing our catchment areas, you would think that, oh, I'm just filling a plot of land which was a wetland. But 1, 2, 3, hundreds of that means that you are reducing a certain volume of water which would have inundated these places that wouldn't lead to any flooding in an area. Yeah? So if you have 100 wetland, minor wetland, which is supposed to accommodate over 1 million metric liters of water, now you have borrowed material to fill these places. It means when it rains the next time, you would have 1 million liters of water flowing on the surface of the land, people's homes. But you wouldn't notice that because Chris filled his place, Mama filled his place, Philip filled his place at maybe Ofanko. Cumulatively, we are reducing the receptor of the Greater Accra proper. The land that has been there naturally to absorb or accommodate or receive all the flood waters that will be running on our surface. So let's come back to this issue. The Greater Accra Regional Minister and then the local government minister. In fact, I was told that when we granted this interview on Saturday and yesterday, Monday, the various big heads, let me put it that way, those who call the shots, have called your studio to get some information about this. I'm sure that's why we've heard people talking already. Because I think on Saturday, I was on my emotions best. Because this cannot happen. Philip, This cannot be happening in Tema proper, an industrial hub where we have home improvements design of the Tema communities, community 2, 3, 4, 5, last year, all the way to like 25. Now, this sewer area had in mind that, let's say, over 100,000 people who are flashing their WCs in the morning, mid-morning, afternoon, evening. Let's say if every house would flash water to about 25 liters per person in a day, to multiply by 100,000 people within the Tema enclave. So we are talking about millions of liters who are supposed to go to this sewer area. Now, somebody decided that I will not allow the wetland to absorb the water coming from all these communities. I would go in there, disregard the regulations of the land, moving on my own, go and start my construction, demolish or erect columns on the sewer, reduce the area of the catchment, which would reverse to the community. In fact, last few years, for the past 6 years, 7 years, you've seen that every now and then you go to Tema to give us a report of the fact that their sewage are blocked.
Yes.
And the whole community, 24/7/9, have been having affluent. This is flood, water from Roblisi, what we call affluent. Running on their compound, their surface, their main communities. Of course, it's staying in Ashama in the late 1980s to 1992. I used to walk from Ashama to go and do my shoemaker work at Tema Community 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to the fishing harbor. You will walk in that beautiful community. That assist to be beautiful now. You get to Tema Community 2 all the way to like 7, and then you see affluent wastewater on the people's compounds. Like, seriously, this is what is happening. So what is happening now at the construction site is going to quadruple the number of spillage, blockage in these communities. And apart from the health hazard, which of course I know the expert will come and talk about, the cholera and other health conditions that are going to come from kids who may be contaminating themselves from these places, entering their rooms with, their slippers and whatever. So that is one. But let's come to the technical aspect really on this issue. If the assembly is not aware, they have failed first and foremost, but they have a power to rectify the anomaly. When you go to the same LOSPA clause 121, I'm just paraphrasing. They said the assembly may, without notification to you, the developer, carry out an instant prohibition, meaning they can prohibit, right? Alteration or demolition of the structure if the structure constitutes a nuisance to the environment or the public right of space. Tell me where this law has to be explained again.
Wow.
So if the metro officer, in this case the Metropolitan Development Officer or the Chief Executive, is acting that he is not aware, the law empowers him not to go to court. Phillips, listen to me again. This is not that you are dealing with a land which is in contest. This is not a land under litigation. This is a government land which is supposed to receive every water within the community to make peace and to reduce health conditions or complications. And somebody decided that he wants to have his money in his pockets. So he would move there and put up structures on areas that are not approved. The law backs the local assembly, it backs the Metropolitan Assembly, and then the bylaws of the Tema themselves, the TDA or TDC, is so explicit that they don't have to even wait and look for the owner. They should go in and start the demolition and then cost it. They have to cost whatever activity they are doing now. And then when they finish the investigation and they get to know who's responsible, they surcharge the person according to their own. So the pretense is enough. We should not be behaving, like I said, ostriches. You went there, you didn't see the owner, you didn't see the developer, so you came back to your office to do what? They are working overnight. The picture that I saw from ChannelOne TV, I saw people in reflectors constructing the drainages on their site. We can have the task force from the assembly, if they are empowered, if they are not, they are overpowered, they can now, the Metropolitan Chief Executive can move beyond his jurisdiction and involve the military or the police, because he is the chairman of the MUSEC or DISEC, under which all the military, the police report to. When they go for their DISEC or the MUSEC meeting, he is the chairman. He cannot be acting as if he's not aware, and he has so much power to effect the anomaly and report to government and be applauded. If he misbehaves or he decides that he's not aware, he doesn't need to be on that seat. And let's think with the emotions and passions that will get people to work in this country. It cannot be. I'll give you one of the laws before you continue. I know you have a lot of questions. You, Philip and Chris, I know. Go to the latest National Building Regulation 2022 LI 2465, which has been amended to quash off the old ones, and this is the one which is actually used at the assembly for practice. And when you go to the clause 56, section 1D, let me just see if I can just have it here. It said that site requirements to what you need to do on a site requirement. It said a developer shall not erect a building. I'm just jumping all the few ones and come to the last one. Over a drain, culvert, water course, high tension cable, or sewer. What is it again that we have to interpret again before the MMDCs act on their work?
So this is totally against the law.
I'm saying the National Building Regulation 2022 LI 2465. That's the current one from 2022. Parliament passed this act to help the MMDCs, their works committee chairman, the physical plan officers to work at the assemblies, the various assemblies across the country. And that's the Bible of the assembly. And I've just quoted 56 clause 1D. Ignore the first one, the A, B, C. Don't ignore them. They are even empowering what I've said, but just use the D. Sewer. What are we talking about here? I want to talk about sewage, wetland.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting.
The chief executive officer in the coming week, if he wants to celebrate his Christmas and enter the new year, he should act when we have 27, 28, 29.
Well, actually,
the president comes in.
Actually, she has spoken. Ibi Bright, she has spoken that the
this will get to the president. I am sure this will get to the president, and I'm telling you, I know where it is going. This will get to the president, and if the woman want to work, these are the laws that are backing her to work easily. The city shouldn't get to the regional minister. This is her duty to work at the assembly. She should just invite her, the engineers, the works committee chairman. She should invite the physical planning officers at the assembly. He should invite the the head of the permit, the division, who are supposed to go to the site and inspect and issue a permit before you start your development on the site. And then when these people are not able to answer to her, she would ask them. If she's not aware, she should ask them, why are they working at the assembly and getting their first salaries and going home and saying that they are working at TMA? And then if she's not aware, then I'm sure that the powers that are above her would also ask her the same question: why is she sitting down for this to happen under her jurisdiction? These are the things that we need to work so that we can work as a country. I am not happy about this particular development. It is absolutely not a non-starter for the country to start with in 2020, coming to 25 or whatever it is. It's absolutely something it shouldn't happen. And forgive me, listeners to viewers, forgive me. I am not in my elements. I am not happy because of this thing. How many times would Philip ask me these questions and we still see this thing, and the next time we talk about it is like somebody has quadrupled what we talked about last year, and they are working. Now the last question is this: no person like Engineer Mahama, Philip, or Chris, not Bernard Able, not Samens, can go into this area and start a development like this. It has a political unseen hands. It may have a political unseen hand or a powerful person who thinks that he can brush the laws in the country. Engineer Mahama cannot go there and start this thing. And Philip, I said I'm doing a small residential building. I followed to the end, got my development permit before I started the work, even though the engineer at the assembly was a classmate. I never disregarded the laws of the land. How much more a big area like that to go in and destroy the sewer, to go in and fill the place, to put up retaining wall and put up buildings, drains on it, It's not a normal person who's there. I'm telling you. Let's be very frank. The mayor would know whoever is behind this. If they want to fish out and get the information, if they get the people who are working on the site arrested, they bring excavators or they bring backhoes to the place. If they get the foreman who is being paid, you get to know where the chain of payment has been passing. If there's Momo, you will know. If it's a bank account, you will know who is paying the subcontractor to work on the site. It's difficult for the mayor of Tema. How is it difficult? If I get to the site and I see Philip, you are working on the site as a foreman, and I arrest you, we'll check some of these payments, how you are getting your Momo paid, how you are getting your money paid to you. If it's through the bank, we'll go to the law and we'll get this thing in earnest. If you even go to a second court to get some of these things for us to be able to fish out whoever is behind this development, would it be difficult for you to do this?
Wow. So, Engineer Abdullah, before you take leave of us, now that this has been done, as a building consultant, what do you think that will be the ramification on structures that, in a way, get their wastewater run through this sewer? One. And two, how can we work around in ensuring that the sewer comes to is functional again now that it's been collapsed?
No, we can just go back and remove all the material. You can't say that because of that you're going to now look for another sewer. Where are you going to get a wetland? So, Philip, we can go in there, do the clause that I said, the 1-to-1. They say you have to do demolition of the structure, which found itself to be a nuisance to the environment. You go in this time, you get all the physical structures removed, all concrete removed, all borrowed material. If I say borrowed material, means you are bringing foreign material, which is gravel from other mountainous areas or areas to come and fill the place. If you remove all this material, you do a physical observation of the various leakages that you're having from the sewers that are supposed to come to empty on these third locations, and you'll be able to remedy them. Like I'm saying, as long as we are still investigating to know whoever is behind, and it will feel like if we keep on waiting, the backflow will be a major health concern. You now have to look at the quantification of how much government will now use to get people who are having health complications or sick, this outbreak, cholera and other things, how you are going to spend so much in the hospital. You now quantify a portion of it and do this removal of the debris. And so that when you are done with your investigation, the person who is behind this is surcharged. There's no way, Philip, there's no way that this person doing this demolition or doing this construction wouldn't have the money to pay when the demolition is carried out on the site. He or she will be able to pay for whatever it is, and government can go through the letter and get the person after the investigation to do that. I just told you that if you know any of the foremen who are working on the site, when you get the foreman, the site engineer, whatever it is, you will get this in earnest. I don't think you need any special person to get this investigation done for you at the local assembly in Tema.
Right. Engineer, I have a question though. I'm just asking because it just came into my mind, and I am not an engineer, but it's coming from a layman point of view. Would you say some of these problems are actually what causes the water to soak up in a wall when a house is built?
Yeah, so if you're having, you see, when you flush the WC, your water has to move within that same time. It's like, because something discharge is called to very over area, times the area. So the lesser the area, the lesser the area, the higher the inundation water. So if you have a wide area, it means that the water will just move quickly to that side. But when you have a lot of retention time, so you flush your waters, it doesn't move quickly. But this, when it comes to the wetness of your building, that particular portion of your facility, it might be a break, a blockage, or sometimes because the overflow, the water doesn't go quickly, you may have joints that have not been sealed properly, and because the water is staying much longer, it will seep through and then to be dampening your wall. So these are all factors. It might be a broken pipe, it might be that the sealant that is used is well outmoded or it's damaged, and then the fact that the water takes much time to leave the pipe, and then there's a backflow. You have some of these things happening in your building, and they are all part of the causative features of dampness in buildings.
Okay. Sure.
Engineer Abdullah Mahama, always a pleasure having you on our show. Thank you so much for your time this time around. He's a building and road consultant, and of course,
welcome.
he has said it all when it comes to the health concern. This is waste. That is a liquid waste issue that we are talking about here, and of course, on Wednesdays we talk about issues around sanitation, and this is one of the key things that the assembly must have to deal with. The mayor has indicated that ways, some measures are being taken to resolve this, but also from the engineer's point of view, it's something that has to be dealt with immediately, because already Tema Enclave has been complaining about they having issues when it comes to liquid waste and all that. So if this is what we are seeing today with the blockage or the destruction of the sewer, it tells you that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to liquid waste in Tema, and it has to be dealt with immediately. I'm sure Ibi Bright may be watching, or she'll get to know what is happening. That means the fire on this particular issue is really high, and some actions must be taken now. If it has to get to the desk of the local government minister, Ahmed Ibrahim, it has to be dealt with. If it has to get to the desk of the Linda Oklu, it has to be dealt with. Eventually, it has to get to the desk of the president. It has to be dealt with, because, like he indicated, myself, you, Engineer Mahama, will not be able to go to that place to go and develop it. It has to take somebody who is really powerful to have done that. And a number of times, we've gone on to areas where sort of Ramsar site or wetlands, and you can tell the kind of structures being put up there that this is not small money that has been pumped into the structure. And the person who is putting up the structure may be powerful or may have the financial backing.
But you see, talking about powerful, I think people should know better. The powerful people are even the ones that are supposed to obey the rules, because they claim to be powerful and more educated sometimes. And if you're educated sometimes, you should know the rules. You should know best. You know, what actually caught my attention was what he said about, you know, these wetlands are just nature's way of saying, okay, I'm reserving, or I'm helping preserve the water that's, you know, absorbs when the rain falls. So if we are blocking what absorbs like the water when the rain falls, where do we expect them to go to? Well, we keep talking about the issue of flooding, and every day after the issue of flooding is spoken about, you hear a serious action is taken for 1 week, and after the 1 week and the rainy season stops, that's it. We go back to it again.
This has to do with both flooding and health concerns, so it has to be dealt with immediately.